Hi, podcast listeners. Thank you for listening today. Please subscribe to this podcast or my YouTube channel if you have not already. Please give me an awesome review. And for all of you mental health care practitioners, if you would like more CE units, I have several continuing education training units for you at my website, which talks much more in depth about the principles that you hear on this podcast. And that website is integrateanger.com. All one word, integrateanger.com. Now, let's talk about restoring balance. I did a podcast episode several months back where I contrasted native spirituality with modern Christianity, highlighting how native spirituality focuses on the human vocation to restore balance in the world. Now, as a therapist, much of what I do is helping my clients restore balance within their own lives. The Hebrew word for this is shalom, which is related to a more popular Hebrew word, shalom. Shalom, you might know as representing peace. It also means abundance, relational harmony, and wholeness. And shalom is related to shalom. Shalom is how humans contribute to creating shalom by bringing about accountability and restoring balance in our world. Shalom is translated in English as words like restoration, restitution, and reciprocity. An example of shalom at work is in the book of Exodus, chapter 22, verse 5. There's a law that says if anyone grazes their livestock in a field and lets them stray, and they graze in someone else's field, the offender must make restitution, there's the word, shalom, from the best of their own field or vineyard. Now, this may seem like common sense to us all, but let's remember this was written over 3,000 years ago. And you know what? Honestly, common sense is incredibly uncommon, wouldn't you say? We see this principle also at work with Jesus when in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 19, he meets a wealthy but corrupt tax collector named Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus responds to Jesus's loving presence with spontaneously committing to pay back. There's our word, except now we're in a different language, but it would be equivalent of shalom, paying back everyone that he cheated 4 times what he took from them. Jesus then declares that shalom, or what is translated in the Greek as salvation, has come to Zacchaeus' household. Restoring balance for my therapy clients entails seeking accountability, which is not to be confused with revenge. It can be by sending someone a letter or email that documents how this person betrayed them and holding them personally accountable. It can entail leaving a candid and well-articulated Google review for a business. It may also end up being something like going up a chain of command within an organization, filing a formal complaint, and at times it might even mean threatening and or pursuing litigation. All of these are necessary in order to restore balance to the world. Shalom also means reciprocity, which requires contemplating the nature of the relationships in our lives to determine if they are truly reciprocal. It can mean deciding to detach from people who consistently talk more than they listen, or desire our empathy but withhold their empathy from us. This too is a way to restore balance in our lives. Now, another way to restore balance is within us internally, which necessitates dislodging guilt and shame, because guilt and shame keep us believing things that are untrue, such as that we are responsible for other people's feelings. To successfully do this, we need to integrate with our inner child, who learned such distorted beliefs and to help her unlearn them. I had to travel back to little Bronwyn at age 3, who was conditioned by her mother to feel responsible for her feelings. This was a time in my life when my immediate family moved overseas because my dad took a sabbatical. And my mom at that time was not able to work and was at home with me every day. That was a first. And during that time, she was incredibly depressed and often cried inconsolably and expected me, her 3-year-old daughter, to attune to her and comfort her. During this time when I disengaged, as a normal 3-year-old would do, she lashed out at me, which made me feel incredible guilt. This explains why for most of my life, I could not bring myself to end a conversation. And I use that word conversation very liberally, usually a monologue that someone else was having at my expense. But I feared to end a conversation with someone would break them, and I would be responsible for breaking them. Once I was able to restore balance internally by letting little Bronwyn know the truth that no one is responsible for anyone else's feelings, but only their own, I was finally freed to end conversations and relationships that were toxic. I learned that enabling people to outsource their nurture to others prevents them from giving it to themselves, which doesn't help anyone. The principle of shalom contrasts with modern Christianity as it does not demand forgiveness without restoring balance. Shalom seeks wholeness and peace, but never at the expense of justice. Forgiveness is sacred, but must be nested within the greater practice of shalom. Otherwise, what we call in forgiveness is actually enabling. I recently learned that a true apology entails 4 steps. Step 1, full admission of the wrongdoing. Step 2, naming how the offense hurt the other person, such as by making them feel humiliated and or betrayed. Step 3, committing to change with actionable steps. This could be going back to therapy or going to therapy. And it could entail just committing to stopping the behavior or changing the behavior. This is necessary to win back the trust of the offended party. Step 4, most important, following through on these actions over the long run. True forgiveness is not cheap and encompasses much more than saying, hey, sorry. It entails change, which is much more difficult, but ultimately best for everyone. Being human is not easy, but it is powerful. To quote Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. When we live out shalom, we reclaim not only our relationships, but our dignity. Won't you join me in this high calling of restoring the world? It takes a village, and the more, the merrier. Thank you for listening today. Please share this with a friend.